Waiting for this to, come on, press the button. Why isn't it working? Come on, Instagram. Okay, Instagram's not necessarily cooperating, but as soon as it does, we'll hit the button. Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday. Hey, it worked now. I think, maybe, possibly. Things are refreshing. Go live. There we go. I'm here, and I'm not alone. We got TPS pilot cop here. Jermaine Watt is visiting us. We're going to talk about what he does. We're going to talk traffic, because that's what we do here. Answering your traffic and police questions is all about, I guess we can talk about pilot questions today.
Sure.
We can talk, because you are actually a pilot.
A licensed one, yes.
So I would hope you're licensed if you're flying a plane. And you know what? There's a lot of, oddly enough, people don't know what it takes to become a pilot. I certainly don't. I used to live close to Buttonville, and I drove by, and there was that $79 starter package that I never actually took advantage of. But I have been up in a flight school. I was in a Cherokee four-seater because of my late uncle used to have a friend who owned a flight school. So I got a chance to go fly, but I put it into a stall on purpose. We all screamed, and then they took over.
Well, you got to walk away from that landing, so that's pretty good.
It was a good experience overall. Before we get into it, we got some business to take care of. I want to first tell you, I have to hit this button that says Design, where I can put up the icons of where we are currently broadcasting. We are on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Kick, and the platform formerly known as Twitter, now called X. We're still trying to figure out whether or not all the functionality that is being promised to me is actually working. So you may or may not be able to message us on Twitter. If it doesn't work, if we're ignoring you, it's probably not that we're trying to ignore you, but we're not seeing you. Go to youtube.trafficcop.ca. It'll take you to our YouTube channel. You can follow us there, and you can join in. It's the easiest way to go. If you're on TikTok, we are currently seeing messages there. So, and Instagram, it was working. It seems to be working, maybe, but we're trying to keep track of everybody and include everyone in the conversation. Before I get into stuff and things, I do want to talk about Vision Zero Enforcement Team and where they're hanging out today. It sounds like they're just chilling, but they're pretty busy trying to change driver behavior one ticket at a time. They do that by focusing on the big four. We're talking about speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving. And those are the activities that are more often leading to serious injury and death on our roads, which is why we focus on them. We target those. Today they're in 32 Division and 42 Division. Those are neighborhoods like Downsview, Willowdale, Newton Brook, Bathurst Manor, Malvern, Agincourt, Milliken, Rouge, Scarborough. And if you don't want to meet them, I suggest following the rules.
Yeah.
Because that's sort of how it works.
Yeah.
Hey, now, you do a lot of work in traffic in terms of, you're not at traffic, but you occasionally stop people.
We do. That's part of our responsibility, some of our goals.
Well, I'll give you the microphone.
Is to keep our community safe, and one way is essentially traffic is a priority anywhere in all of Toronto. So we focus on all, like they said, the big fours, and my job as a neighborhood officer is not just focus on community safety, but also traffic safety.
So what are the things that you focus on or that you see in your neighborhood most?
We see a lot of things. We see speeding, stunt driving, drive under suspension, people with no insurances, people that are impaired. So we see a lot of those things.
So you get it all?
We got it all, but we try to come up with different initiatives to combat those issues that we're facing within those communities.
And before the show, we had one of our esteemed colleagues come in talking about his pet peeves, and his pet peeves were tinted windows, so severely tinted windows, kind of inspired the video we did this morning. And then he was talking about e-kick scooters. Do you see a lot of them in the neighborhood that you're assigned to?
In my neighborhood, not as much. Within my division, there are down on the lakeshore, between Royal York, Islington. There's a lot of what do they call it? The kick.
E-kick, yeah.
E-kick.
The stand-up ones. They look like a skateboard platform with two small wheels.
Oh, yeah, those ones.
Those are prohibited in the city of Toronto, and so many people drive them anyway.
Yeah.
Because they're confused. They heard about a pilot. They don't realize that the pilot doesn't apply to the jurisdictions that don't, opt in. So that can be awkward. But a lot of them are dangerous. I was talking about it yesterday. I think I was watching one in the rain on Steeles, and it was just wiggling all over the place because they just don't stick to the road like other vehicles do.
What's worse, I don't see a lot of people wearing helmets when they're riding those things either.
Well, helmets are a good idea, and the bicycling community hates when I say this, but everybody should wear a helmet. And they say, well, pedestrians don't wear helmets. I'm like, well, pedestrians aren't doing 30 kilometers an hour down the road.
Funny story. I fell off a bike. I was just riding very slow, and the curb hit me.
It's funny how they jump out at you.
Yeah.
I remember a story where a woman was standing on a driveway. I don't know if she had toe clips in or not, but she fell over in the driveway and died. because she hit her head on the
That's
curb.
crazy.
Curb of the driveway. Amazing. Wow. Amazing and terrible and tragic all at the same time. LinkedIn user who does not, their secret. They said, hello, and how are you?
That was me yesterday.
Well, no, your name showed up.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, I knew it was
awesome.
you. But this LinkedIn user, it could be one of many. But hello and good morning to you. Ryan Dow is back, and he has questions. Oh, this is he. Sometimes he asks good questions, and sometimes he's just silly. This is a silly one. How many convicted violent criminals are employed by the Toronto Police Service? I would say none. Violent criminals would not be employable as a member of the service. We're pretty strict about who we hire and who can maintain their employment.
Absolutely.
Oddly enough, we don't take too kindly to violent criminals in general.
That would be very conducive to the environment that we're trying to reach.
No,
Public safety.
Yeah, it's about protecting people. We would protect people from the people. But Ryan, do better. Get some questions that are legit. Like that was silly. Michael V. Aloha. I always see people on TikTok with Christmas lights on their cars. Can we have these in Ontario? So this is the gray area.
It is.
Because I don't think that there's a lot of incentive or a lot of desire to go hammer people that may be marginally doing something wrong. Marginally. It's like doing two over.
It also depends on the color that it's flashing. Yes. If it's red or blue, it's definitely a no-no. If it's green or blue.
Is it a distractor? Is it interfering with your ability to safely operate? Is it causing problems for other people? Is it, because if they're all over the place and you can't see because it's all over the interior, that's a safety concern. If you're projecting red light to the front, it's a problem. Yeah. But if you had something like I've seen some that are on the rear tires of Jeeps, if it was done tastefully, you might not get.
It does look cool though.
It does look cool. I've seen some pretty good pictures. Yeah. But is it technically legal? I think that you'd be technically breaking some things. But I think in the Christmas spirit, some people might get away with it.
I would agree.
Tim Shallow says, good morning, Sean and guest. And if you missed the introduction or if I failed to properly introduce you, we have TPS pilot cop Jermaine Watt in with us today.
Hello and from the other side.
It's cool to have a visitor. It gets lonely in here, and Sergeant Campbell is we see a lot of him, but it's nice to have you. And we've been talking about doing this for a long time.
I know. I got to get you flying.
We've been talking about that too, and I do want to go flying. I was telling Sergeant Campbell that we've talked about flying, and I said it would be a really interesting live. It's as we're flying over Toronto.
Well, let's try. We'll try and figure out if we can get some cool traffic violations while we're up there.
Yes.
Some what not to do. Hey,
I am sure, considering that whenever I'm on the road, I can find what not to do's pretty easily. I'm just looking to see if we have weird stuff happening with the computer today. Weird blinkiness. That's terrible. The feed is actually working. That's good. TikTok may not be linked in today, so I'm going to come in and do the manual observation here. Instagram may not be linked through as well. So I see messages so here's the thing. If you want to guarantee being seen, jump over to YouTube. It is youtube.trafficcop.ca. Take you right to our channel. But I'll do the manual thing, looking over the shoulder to this side for TikTok because it's not working today. It's new technology, or at least the functionality to get the TikTok stream in here.
Yeah.
It's usually working, but sometimes not. All right. We said, good morning, Sean. Why do drivers try their best to circumvent the HTA? Here's the actual complete version of the question, for their own needs rather than simply learning and obeying the law as written. That is a good question. That's a societal question as opposed to a traffic question, I think. Why are people so hell-bent on breaking the rules or ignoring rules because it doesn't suit their personal wants and needs? Because people get upset when other people do things and break the law. They curse at them, and then they go and do things themselves.
Absolutely.
But it's different. What's good for what is it good for me and not good
for the gander?
That's the one. Or good.
What's good for the geese, not good for the gander.
Good for thee and not for me, I think is the other one I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Either way, people are quick to judge others, but then don't follow the rules themselves. So, but that's because everyone's entitled to some degree.
To some, yeah.
There's some entitlement, and. I just need to get over there. I love the people. I used to, as an auxiliary officer, I used to always work the beaches Easter parade.
Yeah.
And we'd have road closures. And people say, but I live over there.
I need to go there.
Yeah, but you can't go there because the road's closed. But I live over there, and I got a turkey in the oven.
I did that once. I was at an intersection where it was closed off because there was a traffic collision. and traffic was standstill. They couldn't go there, but the motorists wanted to go straight ahead. Like they didn't know that our city is building a grid, and they can actually go different ways.
There are alternate routes, not just the one that the GPS is giving them. GPS is a big problem because when people rely entirely on GPS to get their directions, there's no. I guess the old Pearlies we used to see. Oh, there's other lines.
That's right. But
gave you options.
The person's like, but I want to go there. I'm like, okay, no problem. I'm going to let you through. So they went there, and then it came right back.
Oh, because it was a dead end.
Yeah. And they go, I can't get through. I go, yeah, that's why I told you couldn't go there.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah.
Just a shout out to Undead Neon who says, morning, everyone. Long time since we've seen you. Glad to see you back. I'm going to do a cut and paste business here because I'm not. Hang on a second here. Copy. I'm going to open a window because they scroll too fast. Can I open notes? Let's do notes. Notepad. That's going to be the lowest technology I can use. Oh, that actually works really well. Okay, let's see here. Before we get to the TikTok stuff, I want to finish off with what's on screen. Can a G1 driver technically drive on roads higher than 80 kilometers an hour, like 100 kilometers an hour, on roads that are not 401, DVP, etc.? I checked the HT, and it only specifies the roads that you can't drive on. So it's any road with a speed limit over 80 and all the 400 series and so on. Those are all prohibited. There are a small short list of exemptions that are listed in your manual, and they are permitted because they're the only roads in the area. You can't get in and out without going on one of those roads.
There's only one time they can actually do that, though, legally.
Well, for all of those, they can go on if they have a licensed driving instructor.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, but I was talking about even without a licensed driving instructor, there's a very few. But they can in here. Let's go and let me find it here because I want to give you the full detail.
Closed roads, I'd assume.
Well, closed roads you can't.
Private property.
What am I thinking of here? It's HTA roads exempt G1 over. I'm just throwing a search term.
I don't
here.
think there is any.
There's like 5 or 3, 5. Some of them. Highway 11 in Barrie. Highway 7, Highway 15 is a G1 drive. Where is the answer I'm looking for? It's in the actual it's in the driver's handbook. But this is Reddit. I don't want to look at Reddit. I want to look at actual stuff. If anyone knows it offhand, and I don't want to spend too much time looking at it. Okay, understanding restrictions of a G1 license from BrokerLink. I don't know. But there's a list of roads. Like there's a couple of them, and I don't go to them, so I don't know what they are offhand. Because they're not in the GTA. That I can tell you. And I can't find it. So I'm going to give up. But they do exist. If anyone wants to look them up, you can. Driver's Handbook is available online. I have links to it, I believe, on trafficcop.ca. Okay. So the answer is, if it's not specifically listed as an exemption, then no, you cannot. Even if it's not one of the ones that is, yeah. All right. Alicia Bailey says, hey, I have a question. Can I wear heels while driving?
Sure, if it's safe.
Yeah. There's no footwear exemptions or restrictions. You can drive barefoot, which a lot of people grew up thinking you couldn't drive barefoot.
Old school.
I was told you couldn't. My mom said you can't do that and you can't drive with the interior light on. But in some states that might be a law. In some provinces it may be a law. In Ontario it's not a law.
Definitely not.
So you can wear high heels. However, you're probably going to scuff them up and ruin them. Driving shoes or sneakers in your car is probably going to give you a better feeling, like a better connection, safer to drive. Yeah. I've never worn heels, so I can't really comment from personal experience. I just don't know. But I think safe to assume that high heels might hamper your ability to drive safely while also ruining the back of the shoe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never actually thought about the heel thing. But yeah. Winter boots, I suggest not wearing also.
They're too big. They might get stuck.
Pedal confusion, you can just I have some big Kodiaks, you just cover both pedals. I don't wear those in the car. I have sneakers, and I switch out, and it's a pain in the butt.
It does, but
it's about safety.
If you neglect safety, safety shall neglect you.
I like that. Is that a pilot thing?
No. I learned it's a traffic thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it Urian Toronto? Or I don't know how to pronounce your first name in the username, but welcome. I don't think we've ever spoken or chatted before. What is the difference with the neighborhood officer? So what is a neighborhood officer? We should probably chat with that.
Sure. Well, as we are regular police officers, but the only difference between myself and other police officers is I'm embedded within a certain specific neighborhood within the city of Toronto, and I focus on the complex needs of that specific neighborhood. Respond to 911 calls, just like any other police service, but only specific to that neighborhood, if that makes sense. For example,
So you're at a geographical border.
that's right. So, for example, my area of responsibility is the East Mall, West Mall, which consists from Bloor Street all the way up to Eglinton, Rathburn, east to Kipling, west all the way to about Dixie.
And that way you can focus on their needs, develop relationships with people there.
That's right.
You're not a new face every week.
That's right.
You're there.
I'm their
part of the community.
personal police officer. We have this wonderful technology called connected officer phones, just like a regular cell phone. We have access to just like stuff that in our vehicles, so they can call us on those phones. We can chit chat about whatever issues they're facing. They invite me to barbecues. They invite me. I'm like their own.
You get to go to
police officer.
barbecues?
I get to go to barbecues.
See, there's a benefit I didn't think of. And here I am in traffic, no barbecues.
Believe it or not, it's a great way of building relationships with people, developing that trust and that bond. Something that I love to do. And they get to see you on a personal level. They get to see you, that you're a human being. You have different likes. You have different things outside of the police. And you get to talk about the issues they're facing within their communities and how we can help and work together to fix it. Right?
I love it. I think it's great. I'm going to come back. Radic, you're my placeholder. We'll come back to you in a few. But I've been ignoring those people on TikTok, and it's just not right. So first off, we covered Neon. Then Microwave Your Mind says, thanks for your videos. Very fun to watch. Thank you very much. Appreciate the feedback. Do the Day says, raise speed limits, please. Enforce fare limits. 120 kilometers an hour on the 400, the 401 is fair. Okay. I appreciate your take on it, but they've not supported that. The government, the engineers, the people who are making the rules, for whatever reason, they don't agree with you. So
sometimes it's not their driving ability; it's the other person's driving ability as well.
Lowest common denominator.
That's right.
And a lot of people say, and it was one of the first things that happened when we started the channel, is we put up a video from TAC, the Traffic Accident Commission in I think it's Sydney, Australia. Maybe not. In any case, people said, well, that car is old. It was a 2007, they said, car in the video, and you can find the video online in our history. But they said, my car's got Bembo brakes. I can stop.
Yeah.
And the speed limit should be based on my car's stopping ability, not that 2007. But guess what? There's a lot of 2007s out there.
That's right.
So you might be a great driver. Now, I can tell you that most people believe they are. You just ask them. They think they're pretty good, even if they're not so hot. But it's based on the averages. I am dumbfounded. When I drive around every day, I watch people doing the darndest things. And when I was on patrol, I used to stop and charge them for the darndest things. So to say that it should be faster when I'm watching people do really, really dumb stuff on the road.
It's like people watching. You see so much fascinating things when you actually stop and look and see the things that people do.
It's truthfully scary sometimes. Talon 401, he says, hello, officers. Hello back. Okay. Riley says, we are allowed to get our windows smoked versus tinted. Tint is an extra layer of protection. Why are we allowed to get our windows smoked versus tinted? Any coating, whether it be smoke, like a spray-on solution, it's a coating. So it doesn't matter if it's a sheet of plastic or if it's a spray. Any coating is regulated when you restrict the amount of light coming in.
That's right.
So we just posted a video about that today. You can have no more than 30% light blockage for certification purposes. If you have more than that, your plates will get pulled. It's an unsafe motor vehicle at that point. You couldn't get it certified. If you had a lawful amount of, call it 30 and below, you can still get a ticket for obscure. And that's what we were really talking about today.
That's right. If I can't see you, you're probably going to get a ticket.
That's the deal. We have to be able to see what's going on in the vehicle. So I don't know about this extra layer of protection element. I mean, so much is being resolved in modern vehicles because they have UV coatings.
If they want that extra layer, I'm not trying to give this company a plug, but those 3M clear glass films that will give them that extra layer of protection.
With extra UV.
But do they really want that, though? Because sometimes if you need to get out of your car, especially those side windows during an emergency, you got to be able to smash those windows.
You're talking about the brake protection ones.
Yeah.
I don't think I want that.
Yeah.
So much can slow down emergency services from getting into you to save you. But I think people want tint because they want to pick their nose.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
They don't want to be digging for gold, and being judged by their peers. I think that's what it's really about. Okay. LV Dave says, get on the street and protect us from crime. Stop your easy Monday to Friday 7 to 3 gig. I work from 6 to 2, I'll have you know. But I am inside as a result of an injury. Jermaine's out on the road doing stuff.
That's right.
He's just taking a break today to come in for a few minutes to spend time. But
I'm actually not even working yet. This is on my own time.
No kidding. Yeah. I didn't know that.
This is what I do for the people of Toronto. Now. You shouldn't feel bad. I'm just honored to be here.
Oh, I really appreciate it.
So really, I'm not even on the clock yet. And I'm here to serve because this is what we do. So we work for free sometimes.
You're better than me. I'm getting paid. Let's see here. Thank you to our officers for your service to protect and to serve our communities. God bless. Thank you from Talon 401 East. Then we got Wasaga Beach Grove says, why don't you help landlords with horrible tenants? Well, I don't have a lot of experience with this. I used to attend locations for Get Belongings when I was at 12 Division, but we don't really enforce the Landlord-Tenant Act so much as police officers.
We are there to keep the peace, and it's not because we don't want to. It's just because we're duty-bound by what the Act says, the Residency Tenancy Act says. So they have their own enforcement bodies. They're enforcement officers, formerly known as sheriff's officers. So they're the only ones that can actually go out and essentially evict or assist the tenants in such way because there's a court process for that. Mm-hmm. So our job is actually only to keep the peace, to go there to make sure there's no threats, there's no assault, or anyone's going to be injured.
Keep the peace. Yeah, there's a we're not lawyers. We're not making determinations of those things. There's a lot of avenues for you to deal with. I used to be a real estate agent in a former life.
Really?
Yeah, and there's a tribunal, and you can apply, and it takes forever.
Right.
I've been a landlord in the past, and I don't want to ever be a landlord again. So, yeah, there's that. Let's go back for a second to Radek, because I don't want to keep you waiting forever, and we will come back to TikTok in a sec. Good morning. Do officers who operate police cruisers have a designated rating on their driver's license, or do they simply drive with a G-Class license? It's a good question. That's never been asked before, as a matter of fact. I can say that honestly. Huh. If there's a class of vehicle that requires a special license, like we have a bus, if you need a bus license, you would need an appropriate license to drive that vehicle. However,
in an emergency.
Two things. Well, in an emergency,
or in the lawful execution of your duties,
you could be required to move a vehicle that you're not actually licensed for. But we internally, as the Toronto Police, and I assume other police services do similar things, we have training, and we have something called the Blue Card. So it used to be a blue piece of paper.
Yeah.
It's very high-end paper. But you used to take a course, and you were Blue Card qualified. So I had my Blue Card for motorcycle, I think.
Bicycle.
I never got my bicycle. I think I had trailer.
Ah.
I think I had trailer. Yeah. But that's it. And you can get a Blue Card for everything. Golf cart.
I have one for the bus, the command post bus.
Nice.
I had one for the motorcycle. I have one for the bicycle. I have one for the ATVs.
And this is all about liability. We don't want anyone doing anything that we have not determined you are safe to operate and qualified to operate. So, yeah, it's a good question. Was there something else that I missed on that? I want to just make sure. Yeah, no, but G-Class license is the minimum requirement.
They train us to do everything. To walk, to
Chew
run,
gum,
to swim, to answer the phones.
Swimming?
There's always training.
Is swimming still part of it? I had swimming.
Yeah, there is, yeah.
I figured they're going to get
It's
rid
not
of
a
it
requirement
eventually.
you have to pass, but they still train you to do
Well,
it.
they train you to try and avoid drowning.
Is that what they're trying to do, though?
Well, I remember when they said to me, they said, listen, you pass, just avoid jumping in water. You're a good...
Or don't do it with your vest on. I think was the point they're trying to make.
I don't know what point they were trying to make. I assume they were just being hurtful. Okay, we'll come back to Alicia, who had a follow-up question in a second. I want to look back over at TikTok. And running pilot programs when you can't staff street patrol, this is wild. I don't know what LV Dave is asking about in the pilot program. What pilot program? Are we talking about TPS pilot cop and what he does? Why don't you tell us what you do? Because we didn't really talk about it.
Well, again, as enabled officers, part of my job is to engage in people within our community. And normally our officers do basketball, soccer, sports. So I wanted to do something that was different, that was outside the box. Policing is a passion of mine. Working with the community is a passion of mine. So flying is also a passion of mine. It's been my passion since I was a very young kid.
When did you start as a pilot?
Probably when I was about 14 years old.
Really?
Maybe even before that, I loved planes. I always went plane spotting when I was born in Jamaica. So I always went plane spotting. In our normal man in the airport, you there was an observation deck that you could go, and I always used to love to look at the planes on the weekends. So I love that passion. Then my dad took us to Florida. We also used to fly to the States all the time. And then for whatever reason, we got bumped and the plane was packed. So they bumped my seat. So my mom, my brothers, and my dad had his seat, but there was one less. So I got to go in the jump seat.
In the pilot cabin?
On the pilot cabin.
Get out!
Oh, yeah. And that just sparked I was so amazed of what I saw, all these buttons. It was so overwhelming, but it was so amazing. So that sparked my passion for aviation. Then I started doing a lot of flight simulators, and grew on to get my license to fly.
That's awesome. And you say you started actually taking lessons at 14? Or
I started lessons at 14, but it was very expensive at the time. So I slowly did some hours here and there. And then as I got older, I decided, well, I'm going to be a police officer, being a pilot. Getting your commercial license was a lot expensive back then, and going to police calls was much cheaper. So I chose that route. But I did not lose my passion. I said, I'm going to do it. So once I made enough money, I decided to go and get my license.
I love it. That's awesome.
But going back to what we do for TPS Pilot Cop, again, engaging these youth. So what we did was, my partner and I, we've tried to come up with a program to keep our kids engaged. So we came up with a STEM program, which aviation involves science, technology, engineering, and math. That's in aviation, right? The weather, that's science. Mm-hmm. How does the weather work? So how does it rain? How does it affect the aircraft? So we came up with this thing. We sat down for about a few months, and then we put an application through Pro Action Cops Kids. It was a great organization that sponsored us and gave us the revenue to facilitate this program. So we went with them. We selected 12 kids out of about 100 applications, and we sat down with them from March till the end of the end of August. So we went from learning about everything from the ground up, learning about everything aviation, not just about being a pilot, but being anything within the aviation industry. And at the end of the program, they got to fly the plane themselves. Put me by their side, of course, but they got to take off.
We're not talking about a simulator. You're like,
we're talking about a real plane, a Cessna 172 out of Brampton. They did everything from the pre-flight. They walked around the aircraft. Obviously, I make sure they're doing everything
properly.
You didn't
say see in an hour.
No. Then we went up and, we did a couple circuits, and then they landed. They took off.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it was amazing. They did fantastic. Nobody crashed.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, we had simulators in the classroom.
Okay.
So we had a lot of practice. And not just the practice within the classroom. We did a lot of field trips through where Air Canada did their flight training. We went to Threshold Aviation, where they have simulators there. So they got a lot of practice to get them to the real world.
I'm jealous.
The day off, amazing. The day off before they actually went in the plane, I want to make sure that they were properly prepared. So we ran them in a simulator again, which is pretty real life.
Pilots practice in simulators.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they went in and they went with another instructor, and they did the exact same thing, the exact route that we were going to fly. They practiced that. As soon as they're done, they gave me the heads up. They're good to go. We went to the plane, and I took them one by one, and we went up. And I said, "Okay, you have control." Put my hands like this, and I watched them take off and land. And just seeing their faces and their expressions, it was so amazing. And it wouldn't have been all again. I have to give Pro Action a plug, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have had this opportunity.
Pro Action Cops and Kids is what funds programs like this. Right. Officers can apply, put together a business case and apply for monies. And this is a great opportunity to, if I move out of the way, wrong way, behind me, the Toronto edition of Monopoly. It's monopolytorontoedition.com if you want to order one, $69.99, I think.
That's right.
To buy one. You can get it at the gift store. You can get it at Ripley's Aquarium, a whole bunch of different locations. You can buy it online as well. And money, proceeds from that, goes to fund programs like this.
Absolutely. And they've been doing a fantastic job, and they do bring the community, especially young youth participants in these programs, they bring the police and the youth together. We build spectacular relationships. I've been volunteer Pro Action since 2007. I can tell you, I've formulated such great, wonderful relationships with these kids. To see them grow, to go into different jobs. They contact me, say, "Hey, I'm doing this." I'm like, "That's amazing."
Yeah.
And just to see, just from even a sports game, that's that connection. It's amazing.
I used to be involved with a program in 32 Division when I was there as an auxiliary teaching photography to youth. Great programs. Shout out to Pro Action Cops and Kids. Great stuff you guys are doing and make so many great things possible.
Absolutely. They make dreams come true.
I like that. Maybe they should update their slogan.
Yeah.
If you're watching and you have no idea who we are, this is Ask a Traffic Cop. And normally we're just talking about traffic, but we're talking about flying today because TPS pilot cop Jermaine Watt is in studio with me. He's standing right there. This is the man himself. We're answering your questions. We're going a little slower than normal, and that's because the TikTok interface is not working with Restream today. Don't know why, but we'll be sending them a ticket to say it's broken. Let's see here. What is the comment that I want to read? Oh, Ryan's back. Okay, so here's the question, a follow-up from Alicia Bailey. On private property, could I get a ticket for doing donuts or burnouts? If so, why? Well, stunt driving would be the reason. It used to only be on the road, but thanks to the fantastic people of TO Takeovers and similar groups like them, laws had to be changed to include private property, and it's all private property, even if you own it. You can, it's stunt driving. So if you do it, we can still deal with you. Now, I will say this: stunt driving is the lesser charge because we could also charge you for criminal dangerous driving depending on the observations of an officer. And people say, "Well, it's my property. I can do what I want. I paid for it. It's my car and it's my life." And no, it doesn't work like that. Laws still impact you.
Driving is a privilege.
Yes, even on private property, it seems. Mind you, you don't need a license to drive on private property, but if you do stupid stuff behind the wheel on private property, you're still going to be held accountable.
Just like if you're impaired on a private property in a car.
It's amazing how people...
a tractor.
Or a lawnmower.
Or an implement of husbandry.
Yes, impaired driving is impaired driving. Anything other than muscular power, according to the Criminal Code of Canada. But it shouldn't even have to be something that we explain. These are like basic starters. Simple rules, all about safety.
Absolutely.
So Ryan, I'm going to try and pronounce his name again. Ryan Pucciarelli. I think I said it right. Maybe I said it wrong yesterday.
Pucciarelli. Don't butcher the name.
Well, I tried, but he said it was the way that the sergeant said it. I thought he said it. I'm giving up. Okay, Ryan. We're just going to call you Ryan because until I meet you and hear you say it, I will not be able to mimic it. I don't think the Waze app should allow reporting of police for traps because then what's the point of police trying to catch speeders if someone's reporting where they are? I appreciate that. However, it's not illegal, and I don't know if it should be illegal because sometimes they're telling people where crashes and police are located, and it actually helps keep us safe.
It's not really a trap, though, because if we're standing there, we're actually doing our job effectively because people are slowing down.
Well, I see. It's funny. A lot of people say that we're what is it? Entrapment. They use the word entrapment to talk about speed traps or speed measurement locations for enforcement. People entrap. This is such a pet peeve because unmarked cars. Apparently, in the States, somebody made a case for entrapment. It's not entrapment. Entrapment is trickery, convincing you to break the law and then holding you accountable for the thing we induced you to do.
That's right.
There was cases where government agents told a guy to go buy guns or drugs and sell them to another party, and then they arrested him for it. That's entrapment.
That is.
Catching you doing what you chose to do, not entrapment.
You are not in control of your faculty. You are.
But in terms of Ryan's comment, I like that, by the way. In terms of your comment, I like speed measurement devices. If the reporting isn't limited to speed measurement. So if it was only speed measurement, would it be a problem? I don't know.
No.
Legally, no, because it's not interfering with our ability to enforce. It does sway possibly your behavior, which is really what radar. I'm making a circular argument.
It's almost like when I'm standing at an intersection, and some people say I'm doing nothing, but I'm actually doing a lot of things.
This is true,
right? So, like, I've had, I'm observing traffic for whatever reason the case may be, and like, wow, you're just standing to do nothing. I go, well, you'd be surprised how many things I'm doing just standing here, doing nothing. I'm saving lives.
Contemplating your next action. LJ says, for G1, no 400 series highway or any highway that has a speed greater than 80 kilometers. Example, 115 is a 90, so not allowed. But there's an exemption, and I keep coming back to it, and I don't know what it is, but it does exist. I swear it. Okay. If Alicia's got some good comments. If I don't come to a complete stop at a red light for a right turn, is that a traffic violation?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I cannot tell you. This is possibly my biggest pet peeve of recent time, is the absolute running of red lights in the interests of right turns.
Yeah.
I don't know how it has become socially acceptable to not stop for a red light. And then there's the kicker. I was talking to the people at the Automated Enforcement Group, and they talked about one guy who got 4 red light camera tickets by looping the street 4 times, running the red light every time. You must come to a complete stop before proceeding to make a right turn when it's safe to do so. But the first and complete thing that you must do is a stop. And so many people get it wrong.
I've seen a new trend where someone is in the right lane, and then the person in the left lane just makes a right turn.
Improper right turn, yeah. Unsafe turn,
that's
improper
like a
turn.
new thing I've been seeing going on.
There's a lot of people who are just in a rush, and they're more important than everybody else, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a question about radar, and it's a TikTok question that I cut and paste. When you take radar, let's say at a street corner during the day, can it be taken at night as well? So when we're using radar or laser speed measurement, yes.
Absolutely.
I really like laser.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll use what I got, whatever's available, but laser's cool, and it's so accurate. It's just amazing. With radar, you have to have some skill. You have to have skill in both, but you have to really be able to articulate how you identified one vehicle over another. Laser is like the light was on that car.
Yeah, it's very vehicle specific.
It's pinpoint. Yeah, it's a laser. I like lasers. Just being able to say laser is a cool thing.
We try to move away from that. Say LiDAR.
But
it's cooler. LiDAR. Laser sounds too aggressive. Like your laser.
Pew, pew.
Yeah. Like Star Wars.
How far over the speed limit is stunting? Well, I'm going to dig for some new questions. I'll let you take this one, or at least start it off.
Sure.
Because there's 15 things for stunt driving, but there's 2 speeds three speeds in particular.
Yeah. So we have. Well, okay, let's start with the first one. So if you're in a speed limit that's under 80 kilometers an hour, if you go 40 kilometers an hour over that speed limit in an 80 kilometer an hour zone or an area that is not higher than 80 kilometers, it's a stunt. However, if you're on a 400 series highway, which your speed limit is 100 kilometers an hour, they give you an extra 10 before they seize your car. So you have 50 over, anything over 50, like 50 and over.
So if it's under 80 kilometers, it's 40 over. If it's 80 kilometers and above, it is 50 over. However, anything, as soon as you hit 150, regardless of speed limit, also stunt.
It's a stunt.
But so if it's a 110 zone, that's what really gets a lot of people. It's a 110 zone, and you do 150, even though you're only doing 40 over only, it's stunt driving.
There's also another one from a marked departure.
Yes.
Like a lot of people don't know this. If you accelerate from a stop or a slow position on a high rate of speed, which is not what the normal rate of traffic should be, that's basically move from what a marked departure should be, and it's a stunt, and you lose your car from there.
So a lot of people talk about that. Can I accelerate from a stop to the speed limit as fast as I want? And my answer is always depends. Yeah. Depends. And what's reasonable?
Where are you?
And what's around, and I mean that could even be criminal dangerous. So people are jumping out of the way to avoid being hit by you, even if it's their fear of being hit, not that it was actually going to happen. Like, it depends.
I just recently had a case in court. Someone coming around a corner, and she accelerated so fast, almost hit a pedestrian. And when I went after her, she yelled at me. But then I told her, I'm like, well, you're under arrest. And she goes, what do you mean I'm under arrest? I said, you're under arrest for stunt driving.
She didn't like that?
She did not like that.
It's funny how that works.
They don't know it's an arrestable offense. You guys be arrested for it. We'll release you, but
the initial thing is an arrest. It's not just a ticket. There's a little more to it. Yeah. There's a lot of confusion. That's why we're here to try and explain it all. We got here a question: can a G1 driver drive outside of Quebec or New York State, or from Ontario into Quebec or New York State? This one is interesting, because technically speaking, a G1 is issued for the province as a learner's permit in the province, and technically it's up to the other place whether or not they want to accept it. And every place can be different. So you could drive into one state and they could say, well, we're not accepting it. That's a learner's permit. The other place might let you drive with it.
I think it'll be okay.
Depends.
As long as you're with a qualified driver.
There's
Me
that.
personally, I wouldn't. I personally wouldn't see a problem with it.
I called Michigan State Police, and they spent an hour on the phone with me to try and figure it out. And they finally said, we probably accept it, possibly, maybe,
Yeah.
but we don't know for sure. And that's the problem. Is there's a lot of ifs. G2, absolutely, it's a license. It's conditional. You're able to drive that vehicle on the road. That's conditional. You have to follow all your conditions. But a G1 driver, not so much. You would at very least have to follow all the conditions, which would be no highways. And so if you're driving there, here's the big thing. Learning to drive is something you should be doing where you're comfortable, where it's safe, not cross-Canada exploration or into the States. It's really not intended for that. Now, I will tell you this. If you were to move from Ontario to Quebec, you would have to apply for a new license. Your
That's right.
G1 would not be transferable. And that goes to the whole concept of it's not valid there.
That's right.
So I would be very careful, and I would suggest not driving outside of the province of Ontario. And at very least, call the place you're going and ensure that you get somebody's name that's going to protect you and defend you when you get in trouble. That's my thing. Little Bob, little Bo 8. Little Bob, little Bo 8. Can I hold a small dog in my lap while being in the front passenger seat?
No.
Passenger seat?
Passenger seat?
Passenger seat.
Yeah, you could, but it's not safe.
As a driver, absolutely not. Driver would be careless driving or drive while crowded.
See if I
As a passenger seat, not illegal.
I had a video where I posted on my Instagram.
Oh, yeah?
Where I charged someone. He was right in his lap, the driver.
Driver for sure.
And he's like, but it was a small dog.
Well, you know what small dogs do when an airbag deploys at 300 or 200 miles per hour?
They become a flying projectile.
A projectile, they become a very not comfortable. It's not good for either you or the dog. Yeah, don't do that. It actually prevents you from safely operating your motor vehicle, but in the event of a collision, it would be likely fatal for the animal and could cause serious injury for you. Okay. We got some followers. Let's see here. Messed up a cool. Can we tint to help our car? What is this? Can we tint to help with car LED lights at night, which are almost the same as high beams? No. You can't tint your and no windshield tint. That's one thing you're never allowed to have. Emma Carroll, good morning to you. I saw your hello and I ignored you unintentionally. I was going to say something earlier, but didn't. Let's see here. Do something about protest. Protesting is legal. You're allowed to protest. Protesting whilst breaking laws, not legal. And police do intervene when laws are being broken. But lawful protesting is lawful protesting. Oh, yeah, that's good. Well, that's excellent. Yeah, you can't zoom, but this is it's that camera, the white one.
Oh,
I'm using a different one. So that's the doggy sticking its head out of the window. Yeah, how are you driving safely with your animal totally distracting you?
That's weird.
It's not cool. I see it a lot.
Yeah.
What do
Would
we
you
got
do that with
here?
a baby? I wouldn't do that with a baby.
Oh, I actually have video.
Yeah.
Of a guy driving with a child in a diaper standing on his lap holding the steering wheel in Toronto or the GTA.
I must say that when I was younger and I grew up in Jamaica, we used to do that all the time.
In diapers?
Yeah.
Wow.
We call it nappies.
Nappies?
Like a cloth.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Legality of going through a yellow light. This is another one that is entirely or is incredibly misunderstood.
Yeah.
So many people believe that a yellow light means go faster.
Or proceed with caution.
And the truth is it means stop.
Yeah.
And unless it's unsafe to do so.
And it carries 3 points if you don't.
Is that right? 3 points?
Yes, sir.
I didn't even keep track of that one.
Moving violation.
It is so rarely written because more often than not, I think that people, I think that because the evidence is more complicated and people would choose to go through a red light or versus a yellow light, but it is totally a great charge delay.
I charge people all the time, especially if they're able to stop. Now, there's difference. Like most police officers would kind of use their discretion on it, depending on the circumstances, where the road's wet, was it snowing, certain factors. Now, some people, if you're like 20 meters before that stop line and you're accelerating to go through that light because they saw that countdown, yeah, I'm sorry, you're going to get a ticket. If you're already in that intersection, I'm probably not going to give you a ticket.
Well, if you're in the intersection, you didn't run a yellow.
Because you have an obligation to clear that intersection.
Yeah, it's the concept of you should be traveling at a speed that you could safely stop for a yellow light if it changes in advance.
right.
And if you can't, you're either going too fast or you're past the point of no return. If you're past the point of no return, you're too close to safely stop. You're on the line, it changes. No one's expecting you to jam on the brakes. If you're far enough away that we reasonably believe that you should have stopped, that's where you're going to be seeing us.
And the best part is in our cars, we have those wonderful cameras.
Oh, yes.
Kind of helps us to show where they were, how far they were behind that line, too. So I've been getting great success in court when it comes to convictions, because most people are like, oh, well, the car was too close behind me. Mm-hmm. And I showed a video and they go, no, you were guilty.
Yeah.
You failed to stop.
Video is amazing. And there's so much video available.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love the body cameras. I love the video.
And the new cameras have even like more directions covered. It's awesome.
People think police officers don't like to have body cams, but I can tell you, I love it.
Well, that's the funny thing. We wanted more cameras. There was a period of time when they were first introduced, maybe in the late 90s, early 2000s, where people said, I'm worried about someone watching me.
Yeah.
The truth is, they get police out of trouble because it's an actual account of what happened, and the allegations of, the officer was rude, or the officer was mean, or the officer
saved
assaulted.
my butts many times.
Yeah, because a lot of people, and a lot of people don't like it because it helps convict them.
Yeah, the frivolous complaints there's been a huge reduction in frivolous complaints.
Radek wants to know, can you check the speed of your car following, can you check the speed of a car you're following using your cruiser speedometer and give a speeding ticket if necessary? Pacing
Yes.
is absolutely legitimate.
Absolutely.
We have certified speedometers, but here's the thing. Speeding, for the calculus, there's two components. Speeding occurs at any speed over the posted speed limit. The offensive speeding is anything over the posted speed limit. The amount that you are speeding is to determine the cost of the ticket or any consequences like stunt driving. So if I could, without a speedometer functioning, know that I'm going over the posted speed limit and know that you're going over the posted speed limit, even with an uncalibrated speedometer, I just know because I'm doing 70 and it's 40. Well, you're doing over 40, so I know you're speeding. Right? Like it's not as complicated as one
I could also build on that by saying, for example, if it's definitely you have a posted sign and tells you what your speed is, and I can tell that you're clearly going above what a speed limit is because I'm doing 50 and the speed limit says 50 and you're traveling further and further away from that. Even if I didn't pace you, I can charge you for disobeying that sign.
I like it.
Because it is a legal sign and you have to obey it.
I think that there are so many ways to deal with things. At the end of the day, it's so simple to follow the rules. I don't know why so many people have a difficulty just following basic traffic law. And it's for safety of the community. It's not just safety for you, it's the safety of everybody on the road. And there's so many people using the road. Mm-hmm. Shared space.
It is.
What is this question that I wanted to? And this is funny, we were talking about this earlier. Alphonse wants to know if we can please elaborate on electric unicycles. Should they be operated on sidewalks or roadways? You're not going to like the answer. Neither. No, they are motor vehicles, and they are prohibited from use on sidewalks, parks, and roads. They are not lawful at all. These things are capable of doing speeds of 60, 70 kilometers an hour. They are unsafe motor vehicles. They're not allowed by any policy, procedure, law, legislation that would permit them on the road.
Off-road vehicles.
And off-road on property that you're legally permitted to be on. Because if you were on trails, they would have to be vehicles that were safe and licensed for trails. So there's nowhere you can use those except your own personal property.
And they don't wear helmets either.
Oh no, these guys. I've almost all of the unicycle people I've seen with like full-on dirt bike exoskeleton.
Really?
The people I've seen, but they are leaning over on a 45-degree angle doing 70K, and I'm impressed. They look like really cool vehicles. I never want to get on one.
Does it even have brake lights?
I don't. There is lighting.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see it on their backpacks, blinking lights. I don't know if it's actually integrated with the system, but we're talking about a system that doesn't use brakes. It has regenerative braking possibly.
Yeah.
You lean back, it decelerates. But if you actually had a brake that clamped down or a disc brake, you would just fall on your face. It would be over, game over.
Makes sense.
But I can tell you that I've seen video footage of people becoming involved in collisions on those things. That is horrifying. Body parts bending and popping out of places, not allowed. Not good. Not good at all. So here's a question. I think it's from Kane, possibly. No, it's from O. And it's a question about tint. And again, we're going to disappoint you. But the question is there a way you can get a letter from the doctors for window tints? And like I said, I'm going to disappoint you. The answer is no. In Ontario, there's no lawful exemption or way to get an exemption for tint. Sunglasses, however, over the counter, you can buy them that just go over your glasses even.
Or like one of those visors that you can just wear over your head.
Oh yeah,
I want to get one of those back.
Do you want to get one of those?
Yeah, I love them.
I don't know if I want one of those.
They're amazing, especially when I'm flying.
I could see that being beneficial.
It's pretty cool.
Well, it's like a motorcycle visor.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That'll works. The windshield is regulated. Your eyeglasses are not.
The only thing a doctor can really exempt you from is essentially wearing a seatbelt. You need a doctor's note for that.
And I don't know why anyone. I mean, I get it. Sometimes there's implants or heart things. Not implants. I'm talking about heart implants.
It has to be for a specific time because most people don't know that it has to be dated for a specific time frame.
I've never ever run into someone who has a medical exemption.
I have.
Randy says, Sean, please invite Jermaine back anytime. He's soft-spoken and very, very knowledgeable. Great guest. Well, you've been approved by Randy, so now you're going to have to come back a lot.
I don't have a voice for radio like you do.
Yeah, sure you do. It's I just be doing it a lot. That's how I can't speak to that. People want me to sing now. I'm like, I don't sing.
You could be a pretty good singer. I could see that. Like a nice bass.
I don't know. I got to remember words. Let's see here. Question, please. Can PO, not MTO, send an unsafe vehicle to inspection and under what authority? So can a police officer send an unsafe vehicle? Yeah. So as a police officer, we can identify an unsafe vehicle and pull its plates then and there, which would then require an inspection to get plates again.
That's right.
Under what authority? The Highway Traffic Act. It actually states that anyone enforcing the act has the authority to do it, so it includes MTO people as well as police officers.
That's under 216. That's one of our basic authorities under the HTA.
And people say, well, you're not a mechanic. How can you do it? We're going to...
There's some things that we can check.
And yeah, we're not just saying, you, sir, look unsafe. It's based on our training, our abilities. We do have licensed mechanics who are police officers.
That's
I'm
right.
not one of them, but there are.
And we have certified vehicle inspectors that work for Toronto Police Service, like our commercial motor vehicle inspectors. They're trained to look for certain things that are unsafe on those vehicles.
But we're talking gross violations. Yeah. We're talking absolutely no question. I'm not going to pull plates unless I can articulate that I have had experience that allows me to identify that as an unsafe vehicle.
Like a floorboard that has literally no floor.
Oh, when you're looking through the window and you see the floor?
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens. It happens
like
more than you like to
Flintstone
believe.
cars. I see them a lot.
Yabba dabba do.
I've taken a lot of cars off for that, unfortunately.
Did you just see this comment?
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Let's see here. We talked about this. Is driving with a cat allowed on dash? Sorry, driving with a cat on dash illegal? I would think that... if it's in the front, I'm going to say it's just a bad idea. In the back, I've seen cats. Listen, animals, never mind illegal. Animals should be crated or tethered for their protection and yours. In the event of a collision, regardless of where they are in the vehicle, they're going to become a projectile.
Absolutely.
And I'm assuming they're your pets and you like them. If it's a feral cat and it just wandered into your car, it's going to be different. But if it's, you probably like your cat or dog or Pikachu or whatever it is.
Put them in the back. Mm-hmm. Put them on a leash.
And preferably, yeah. And I think crates are even better than tethers. But
yeah.
And the crate would have to be tethered or secured. Z says, never wear my work boots while driving. I have driving shoes, a.k.a. Crocs. Crocs are great for that. Mind you, they should fit. When did Crocs become a style thing?
I don't wear them.
I had them a long time ago.
My son loves it because then he gets to put those small little things on top of it.
Oh, the decorations. I got police car decorations
really?
for my kids. I love it. Let's see here. Is there a way, we talked about this. How can we police the people who merge onto the 401 west or east on the 400 southbound last minute? So that's a big pet peeve. The people who just drive up to the front and then chop in
last minute.
Well, that's unsafe lane change. It's interfere with traffic. It's so many different things. But you know what would probably prevent that? If people were better at allowing people to safely merge.
Yeah.
We have such a problem with entitlement where people just race up to be like, you're going to get there faster or sooner or first. Like, who cares? Leave space. And sadly, if you leave space, people will take it.
Yeah.
But it's just part of it. If you leave too much space, you'll be going backwards.
Sometimes, not because you're in the right, that means you should actually just continue to do what you're doing. Sometimes it's to avoid that collision, even though you had the right of way. Probably sometimes it's best to just let them go.
And speaking of collisions, Dash cameras. I am a big supporter of dash cameras. Sometimes you're doing everything right and a collision occurs, and because of the way it looks, you're responsible. Even partially, you're responsible. Dash cameras could be the difference between that. I'm not suggesting you buy a specific brand or model. Buy what you can afford, but I would suggest every car have one.
Absolutely.
You know,
in Europe, a lot of drivers have them.
A lot of cars are coming with them stock now.
Really?
Like built into cars.
Oh, it's amazing.
I don't know if that's going to be a forever thing or if it's just certain brands, but I've been told that there are.
It certainly assists us when we're conducting investigations,
So good.
Any traffic-related offenses. And
major collisions, we're pulling black box data because your car is going to store certain information. They're computers. They store all sorts of stuff. I wish everyone had Tesla cameras in their cars because Tesla, has cameras for everything.
Yeah.
But, people often tell less than 100% truths when they're talking to police. Oddly enough, we have ways, and it's good because we want the truth. That's ultimately what we want. If I borrow someone's car, do I need to have their pink insurance card or my own? So what we want is the insurance for the vehicle because the vehicle must be insured. And it depends on what we're talking about. So if you're bringing up, you should have access to all the license, ownership, or your license, their ownership, and their pink slip should be. The pink slip being the insurance card or proof of insurance. Technically speaking, if you give us yours, you would save yourself a $65 ticket for showing proof of insurance. But if the vehicle turns out to be uninsured, the owner of that vehicle is still going to get charged.
That's right.
But it's funny. I remember that from OPC, the Ontario Police College, saying, well, I gave you an insurance card, officer. You asked for proof of insurance, and technically it is. Yeah. I always heard that rumor that I want to see your pilot's license. You were going so fast.
Well, I have one. I'll probably present
so if you present that one, officer.
Man, you were flying.
Scott says, is this the Alberta officer that I was promised last week? If so, fantastic. And no, Scott, I'm sorry. I did try and coordinate to get Officer Logan Grant from Brooks, Alberta to come onto the show last week for Friday. But unfortunately, he's been under the weather. He and his family have the vid. Or I think he's better. Maybe this week. Maybe tomorrow. Let me see what I can do. But we're definitely working to get your Alberta officer. But this fine officer here is a neighborhood officer, TPS pilot cop. You can follow him on Instagram and Twitter. He's not on TikTok yet, but I'm going to try and convince him to switch over. Can you get a DUI if you have the keys in the trunk and are sleeping in the back seat? Possibly, maybe.
Yeah.
Because if it's in the trunk, you can open your trunk. Probably by folding down the back seat. There's, if you truly have no access, there may be a position there that it would be reasonable. But the best answer is don't be in a car.
Yeah.
And make better plans. Can you explain why people think it's okay to drive on a shoulder lane? Well, it's a shoulder, not a lane, and it's off-road. It's off the roadway. It is not legal. And I think people just think they're more important than everybody else. But I will say the best way to get a flat tire is to drive there. Because as a police officer on a motorcycle, when trying to get to a collision, that is the place where I would normally ride. And I can tell you that I've had a number of flat tires as a result of it.
There you go.
Not a good place to be. A lot of people asking about letter from doctors for window tint. I would say it's a lot of people, but it's really the same person spamming. Can you show the spam can? Don't spam. I've been meaning to do that.
No spamming.
No spamming.
We don't play those games.
Let's see here. Why do they make such fast vehicles, but you can't drive them? Well, if you look at the Corvette, I love cars. My uncle used to work for General Motors. I grew up loving the Vet. I still do. I think it's a beautiful car. I can't fit in it. It's a stupid car. I'm way too big for it. I'm 6'5".
Videos.
Oh my head goes above the. But I've driven them, and I've driven them in environments that permitted them to be driven quickly, and they're just. They're built to be showing off. They're showing off what the maker can do. Does that mean you should drive it that way? Absolutely not. Not unless you're on a track.
I was just about to say that. Drive on a track. Go as fast as you want.
Or learn to fly and go faster.
Yeah.
Because what's the
Well, believe it or not, we actually do have laws that governs us in how fast we could go based on where we are, what airspace we're flying in. So there are certain rules because we have to adhere to. So we go in knots, not kilometers or miles, but we go in knots, like ships, boats.
Okay, nautical. So what is that? How does that convert? What's a knot versus a mile?
It's almost like 1.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the average airspeed when you're flying somewhere? Like
in a Cessna, we're doing about 150 115 knots.
That's not as 150 knots.
Yeah, so it's about 225 kilometers. Yeah.
Okay, that's not
And
slow.
if you got a nice tailwind, you're moving too.
Okay.
We love tailwinds. Those
And
are
can
the
you
best.
save gas?
Oh yeah, you just throttle back.
Well, that's why Florida, it's faster to come home than it is to go there.
Yeah.
It's always that way, right?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the wind. So when we do our flight planning, we look at what's best for the fuel. We always try to save and burn less fuel. One, it's cheaper for us to fly. It's more economical. We're not wasting fuel. So we'll look at the altitude and in the area where we're going to go. So east is least, west is best. We kind of determine if we're going, for example, 180 degrees. So we're going south. You have to fly at like 3,000 or 5,000 feet or 7,000 feet and so forth. And if we're going a different direction, we have to fly even plus 500, which is 2,000, 4,000, so forth like that. So there's different rules.
I'm not a
applies.
pilot, so I don't understand.
Well, if there's any pilot out there,
I'm trying to
we have to determine for example, we look at what's the weather doing? Because science, right? What's
Okay.
the weather doing? So we look at the weather. What's the best altitude for me to fly at? So I look at where the wind is. So winds are flying at different we have upper air winds, and that tells you, am I having a headwind? Am I going to have a tailwind? What's the best wind to fly at? What altitude? So I'll choose the one that's best for me to fly at, where I'm going to burn less fuel. So like a Cessna, for example, a 172, most people, like the highest it'll probably go is about 13,000 feet. I wouldn't recommend it, but
That's max.
That's the max it'll probably go. But most people fly about 10,000 feet. And if you go above that, you're probably going to require oxygen.
I was going to say
tank.
a sealed or compressed
Yeah. So we probably fly lower than that.
pressurized cabin. That's
right.
See, I know some stuff 'cause I watch movies.
Yeah. So it all depends. So there's various factors that come into play in how we choose where we're going to go.
I really want to go flying with you. We got to
Let's do it.
It's 11:02. Normally we'd stop here, but I have a couple more questions, and I'm sure you got places to go. And
I'm here for you as long as you want.
Well, we also have a guest coming in that at 11:30 that we have to prep for, because we're doing a podcast today with a deputy chief from Toronto Fire Services talking about batteries on electric vehicles, specifically the batteries on e-bikes and how sometimes they catch fire.
Well,
And there's a lot to do with that. Some pretty scary stuff. So we're going to talk about it. I think it's information that y'all want to know about because it's important.
Cool.
But Weedy, is it Weedy? I think it says Weedy. Would you pronounce the first word as Weedy? You had a 10-minute conversation about how to pronounce this username.
well, safety through speed enforcement does work.
I think so, and I think statistically we would be able to support that. This is part of an argument where they say you have to change road designs, and I get it. Vision Zero enforcement or Vision Zero is a big picture. It's about education, it's about road design, and enforcement has a part to play with it. Simply saying nice words doesn't always work. You need to have some negative consequence, and enforcement is not just about punitive dollar amount, what's it called? Consequences when it comes to dollar amount. Yeah, I could take $1,000 from you. I could take $1 million from you.
Yeah.
That may not stop you because you may just pay it if you can afford it, or not pay it and deal with the consequences there. But just changing the road design on its own doesn't necessarily stop it either, because as we see, people drive wherever the heck they want. Yeah. Roads, no roads. Yeah. And
Some people are just bent on breaking the rules, unfortunately. And that's why you have police officers there to catch those ones that are bent on breaking those rules. Because in a society, if everyone were to obey it, there will be no need for police officers if everyone were law-abiding. Unfortunately, this is not what we have in a free will society. So you're going to always have that enforcement piece.
And going back to the whole high-speed cars and why they can go fast, free will, just because you can go fast and the vehicle's capable doesn't mean you have to do it.
I agree.
And that's where, we're all grown-ups, or we're supposed to be, and we should be cool enough to have a cool vehicle and not push the pedal all the way to the bottom.
It's all about safety. Again, one of the reasons why we have airbags, we have seatbelts, we have locks in our doors, is because horns in a car, it's for safety. Most people don't understand why we have those things, but it's for safety. Why we have speed limit is for safety, right? Like in some places, like in Italy, some of the speed limit is really high, but because those roads are built and designed for those speeds, here in Ontario, unfortunately, we don't have those roads that's built for speed. for excessive speed specifically.
I will say one thing. In Europe, especially when we talk about Germany and in the Autobahn and in places that are really, really built for speed, they have better drivers. The rules and requirements to get your license are so much stricter in Europe.
And yeah, they're very obedient. Like I've seen people, like once they pass a car, because most people don't realize the left lane is actually for passing and not necessarily for speeding while you're passing that car. But they'll make their lane change for that passing that slower moving vehicle. They'll return back to that right lane. But some just hug that left lane and they don't realize actually an offense.
There, it's going to be strictly enforced.
Even sometimes in the States. I remember driving by in the States and that left lane is left open.
And there are people who can drive fast, like police legally can drive quickly.
Yeah.
Radek says, last week I saw an LCD display attached to the rear window of a car showing season's greetings. Are these displays legal? So it's a funny discussion. You're not allowed to project certain colors to the back. And yet I see commercial vehicles that have giant billboards on them that are projecting all colors to the back. Is it legal? Is it strictly enforced even if it's not illegal? Or if it is, let me back up. If it's illegal, is it strictly enforced? That's where I'm going here. I have never looked at these as an enforceable thing. It's not something I've been really interested to enforce. It's not something I had a lot of experience with. And I can't tell you 100% other than saying you cannot project anything other than amber or red to the rear. So if you've got a thing to the back and it's projecting blue and green and orange, and that's a problem. Well, orange is kind of in between the red and maybe that's okay. In any case, if it's interfering, if it's blinding people, it could be a problem. I've seen little ones that give like the anyone remember the It store that was attached to Mr. Green Jeans? There used to be you'd take a air bulb and you'd squeeze it and a little tube attached, and it gave somebody a 5 with some of the 5 down, and it was a stop being so close to the back of my phone. So that's communication, but it was not light. The light complicates it. I don't know if I'd be putting that on there. I've seen the ones I've seen that I would say are legal are red.
Yeah.
But I put that in my car. Probably escalates matters if you're using it.
But also, I think there is a certain brightness to it as well, because the highway traffic says,
marker versus projection bulb for the front. Yeah, there's a lot to go into it.
Yeah, there's a lot.
My general suggestion is avoid these things. It doesn't help you. It's
Especially
funny.
if it's blinding.
Blinding for sure not.
Yeah.
A lot of them are muted, I think. Listen, it's your mileage may vary. Coco Moco has a question. Can you have a photo of your vehicle permit, or do you have to have a physical copy?
Yes.
True. Well, for a physical copy of both sides, front and back, it's called a true copy. So the original or a photocopy, but not a photo. The only thing that you can have an electronic copy of, still not a photo, but an electronic copy in an app form from the provider of insurance is your proof of insurance.
That's right.
Which is new.
Have the actual contract of insurance. Most people don't know that.
I never really thought of that.
Yes, sir.
You know what I can tell you for certain doesn't work?
What's that?
A quote for insurance.
That does not work.
I've had a lot of quotes handed to me. I spoke to them today, officer. Look.
It's there.
Yeah.
$5,000 fine, first offense.
And up to $25,000, up to 6 months in jail. People do silly things, and they try and figure out how. Someone that World Boss says insurance is a scam. I was hit by a car. Insurance is a godsend.
Yeah,
it is not a. You don't appreciate it until you need it. But if you drive a $100,000 car and you get into a crash, now that's not what happened to me. But I was on a police motorcycle when I was hit. But if you drive a car, and so many cars now are $100,000. And you don't have insurance, who pays for that $100,000 car? Insurance is a scam, my butt.
I try to avoid hitting police officers on motorbikes.
I try and avoid hitting anything.
I can't say that I do because I've hit several things intentionally in a police vehicle, but I try to avoid hitting police officers and motorbikes.
I think just getting involved with police cars in an intentional or unintentional contact is just a bad idea. I mean, unless you're a police officer who has to do it.
Unfortunately, sometimes there's some circumstances that some people, you want to prevent or pursuit. You want to prevent people from getting hurt, or for the safety of the public. Sometimes.
Well, as a police officer, 100% I support it.
Yeah.
As an individual driving around, don't hit things.
I don't like doing playing bumper cars, but sometimes, unfortunately, that's
on my cruise. We had bumper cars on the cruise.
Did you?
Yeah, I was driving around with my kids on the cruise.
No way.
Yeah, they have this multi-purpose thing. We were on a Royal Caribbean cruise.
How do you fit in that thing?
It was very uncomfortable.
Yeah?
It hurt a lot. But I did it anyway because it was made my kids smile.
You're a tall dude.
Yeah, but I fold up sometimes, just hurt for a week.
Oh, man.
Clarence Young says, I have blue fog lights. Is that illegal? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
You can have white or yellow, amber.
That's it.
That's the only color light projectable to the
I think
front.
it's confusing because a lot of people see the blue lights on, for
Buses.
example, the buses, and they don't realize it for like accessibility.
And even then, there's question as to whether or not that's legal, but they do it anyway.
It isn't, but
A lot of things.
we'd allow it.
It's things that make sense. It is, but they're not projector. They're not 300 lumens headlights. They're marker lights.
That's right.
P.S. from Raddick, please keep the show going. I have one last semester of police foundations left, and you're contributing to my mid-90s average.
is awesome. Look at
Awesome.
that.
I love it. That's great news. I'm glad you're doing well.
Professionalism, and respect.
I met Raddick at Humber College when I was doing I didn't speak to his class, but I
the
was there.
Lakeshore campus?
It was on Lakeshore.
Oh, that's my area of responsibility.
Well, there you go.
That's my zone.
The building on the south side, no, north side of
Oh,
the
I know
road.
the Police Foundation program very well. I always answer questions for these. You'll probably know this one because they always send us in the middle and the start of the year, and they ask about our neighborhood officer program,
Oh,
and
yeah.
how we like it, and what do we do, and what's our role and responsibility. So, and I've always have to send an essay as to why I love what I do.
You have to write the essay?
Yeah.
How is it your job to go to their school?
That's
and write
that's been my issue, but I love doing it, so I have a problem doing it.
That's awesome. I like contributing to the education of
Absolutely.
those who are interested in this field. Paul Danino says, okay, where's the enforcement? Get off YouTube and do your job.
Well, you are doing your job.
I think I'm doing a pretty good job.
Fantastic.
He follows on to say, this is pointless. Well, I add this is, even though he's just saying, psh, point, psh. But Paul, I appreciate that you have input. I don't agree with it. Obviously, I don't do enforcement anymore. I'm not on the road because I was, if you were paying attention 5 minutes ago, I was hit by a car when I was on a police motorcycle, and that's taken away my ability to be on the road, which actually bugs me a lot. I've been very fortunate to have found my my second wind in being able to do stuff here to help people, and this is what I've been doing for a couple of years. But education is a huge component of traffic safety. So that's something, and we are actually, I'm proud to say, the largest channel in the world that does traffic education in a police environment. There are people who dance. There are people who tell jokes. Some of them are police officers.
I'm not sure if you know I do dance.
Do you really?
I do dance salsa. Look it up. Google it.
Okay.
Yeah. Jermaine, what? Google it. Salsa. Boom.
Hang on a second.
You'll find it.
I'm gonna look.
I don't just fly planes, brother.
Well, hang on. Okay.
Just Google the name. Jermaine, what? You'll find it.
Salsa.
Or at least, yeah.
That's
sure.
Sala.
Boom.
Oh, hey.
There you go.
Okay. How's this going to work? I'm going to mute this.
No, you don't play it right now, but.
Well, hang on a second. I mean, not just do I not just have to play it. I got to share it.
No.
Here we go. Okay, I muted it so we don't get flagged for. Okay, so this is Salsa on St. Clair. Look at you go.
There you go, bro.
Okay, I'm sure
That's enough. Put it down.
I'm sure I have salsa very poorly, but you make it look easy. So back to Paul, who says we're not doing any. Yeah, this is something where we get to speak to people on a huge level. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, which it appears you are, you're seeing 16 people currently watching. Now, this doesn't deal with the replays, but we have 600. I'm giving myself an extra 100,000. I think it's 643,000 followers on TikTok, which is where this is being simulcast. So we're talking to people where they are and giving them information and answers to what they want to know. So it's not pointless. It's apparently helping a lot of people.
It really is. Again, enforcement through education is a very important piece. And as police officers, we don't just go out there to hammer the public, and that's not what we're there for. We want to obviously reduce collisions. We want to reduce personal injury collisions from occurring, property damage from occurring. We want to keep people safe. So sometimes we do educate, and this is a great platform in which you use to educate people on what they can or cannot do. Because I've seen some of the great questions that your followers have been asking, and they wouldn't have known if you didn't have this. Because some people are afraid to actually approach a police officer and ask these questions to say, hey, can I do this? Hey, can I do that?
And when you call into the front desk, you may or may not get someone with the answers. I get to look up all the weird stuff.
Yeah. So it is not pointless. It is great. And that's actually why I'm here.
I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And oddly enough, whatever his name was, Paul, not what I was talking about somebody else. Paul, not whatever his name is. Lemke says wasting tax dollars. We want crime fought, not traffic infractions. Here's a funny thing, and we talked about this yesterday. Traffic infractions that lead to serious injury and death, we have on a regular basis, within a few digits, within a few numbers, like we're talking like 60, 59, are fatalities as a result of crime, like murder, and the fatalities as a result of collisions and traffic interactions with motor vehicles.
That's right.
They're about the same. So we always hear people saying, stop crime, but we want to stop people getting unalived.
Crimes occur in vehicles too.
Mm-hmm, that's true. Yes. Oddly enough, bad persons drive places.
Yeah.
A lot of traffic stops result in drug seizures and gun seizures and all sorts of seizures.
Stolen cars. Mm-hmm. They use those vehicles to do other offenses. Home invasions, break-and enters, robberies.
It's all part of the thing.
That crime is a proceed of what you're doing.
This is stuff we can always talk about. I actually really like when people challenge me as to why we do what we do and if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's a great opportunity to talk about the good stuff we do.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad that we got a chance to talk to you about the good stuff that you do with your pilot program. I want to come out and fly.
Whenever you're ready, let me know.
Okay. Are you flying winter? Is it just summer?
All year round.
All year round.
As long as the weather is good, even marginal.
Marginal.
I'll still do it.
I like it. All right. We're gonna make a date. And we'll have you back again because this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was amazing. Thank you for having me.
And I am going to say goodbye now because as much as I'd love to dig down into all the wonderful questions, unfortunately, I don't have time because I have someone coming in where we're going to film a podcast episode for TPS Traffic Jam. And it's going to be with a deputy chief from the Toronto Fire Service talking about batteries. And it's this overload where it's called runaway. I think it's called runaway. Well, he's going to tell us. We're going to get the real deal from him. And the deal is that sometimes batteries just
explode.
And then it's really scary actually because I watched some videos and houses go up in flames and there's no putting it out that easily.
Scary.
Yeah. So we'll get that. That'll be the topic. It won't be published today, but we recorded today and we'll have it ready in a little bit. So yeah, hopefully before the new year.
Awesome.
Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. I see that Zuck needs to have congratulatory message here because they passed their G1 in 5 minutes, making only 2 mistakes, and says, thank you for the great content you make.
Amazing.
Well, that was a perfect tie-in to the whole what we do here is important. I'm glad it helped out. Drive safely, and we'll see you tomorrow, possibly at 9 o'clock instead of 10.
I love this song.
It's a great
I know
song.
I said it yesterday, but it's amazing.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go.
You can sing it if you want.
I don't know the entire words.
The traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green
You're a braver man than I am.
Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP.
Boom.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light.
I can bop along to it.
Yeah. Restoring a 1965 Mustang. Do I need to put lap and shoulder or seatbelts in? Or can I? You cannot continue without it. You require it. What's the year?
Is it 65?
Is it 65 or 69?
So 73 is, I think, when they introduced
The seatbelts?
Yeah. So your grandfather, if the vehicle was
look at that.
manufactured
You're lucky.
without seatbelt, I don't lucky.
I
I'd
thought
want
it
to
was
put,
1969.
but I'd want to put them in just because I feel naked if I drive a car with no seatbelts. But the deal is, if your vehicle was manufactured without them, you don't need them because your grandfather did.
Boom.
Just like if you didn't have a muffler because your vehicle
Old school.
was a Model T.
Old school.
Then you don't need a muffler. At least whatever it came with is what you need. But when I want to have them,
Probably.
I
Depends on how fast you're going to. Those cars, that's a classic. You don't want to be speeding around in that Mustang. You want to be cruising in that bad boy for everyone to enjoy.
But seatbelts, they're the number one way to keep yourself in a vehicle in the event of a collision.
That's
and,
right.
If you can put them in and not ruin the car, I'd find a way. Just me
You
personally.
can get those seats that has those seatbelts, and I think it has the same safety. You have to check the safety ratings. And
I don't know. But legally, you're okay.
yeah.
What is this? Bill Nib says, what $200,000 to $300,000 a year here from taxpayers to do TikTok live about cars? Bill must have just jumped in because we talk about a lot of stuff, mostly answering questions from viewers.
And I'm not working right now. I'm
And he's
working
not
for
working.
free.
Yeah, it's volunteer. Actually, and for all the time I put in at work, this is an hour to an hour and a half a day where I do this live. I then spend probably 3 to 4 hours a day on my own time answering questions. But, if Big Nibs, which is the username here, has a problem with it, I guess we should quit.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. We'll be back tomorrow. Of course, it's the last show tomorrow of 2024. We're probably going to start early because I have got somewhere to be after the show. But I look forward to seeing you then. And I'm not playing any more songs. We're just done. We'll just sign off with this.